welcome back to the Inkbladder Woodwork Shop. I'm Scott, and this is the first update and video from our new shop. Last year we've had a whole lot going on that unfortunately has prevented me from doing a lot of videos and content for my channel, but I definitely do appreciate all the new subscribers, and I want to say welcome to all of you. So beginning last year, I ended up getting a new job that was quite the distance to travel for a daily commute, and we ended up starting to look for a new place that was much closer to work, and found a place and came with a nice shop, nice area to expand and have things in a more permanent location and be easier to work with. So with that, was able to actually move some of the equipment outside of the shop and give a little more space inside. And I've also had a lot of people asking for a shop tour. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and give you guys the 50-cent tour, and that way you can know what exactly it is that I work with. So first up here on our shop tour, we've got the table saw. It's a 3-horsepower Grizzly GO690. Has a 10-inch saw, 3-horsepower motor, and went ahead and added on a router table on the right side here, as I really don't have room for a separate router table, and doing it this way allows me to keep everything nice and straight by using the table saw's rip fence. And then over here on the outfeed side, I added a collapsible table so that I can use the bigger stock, but if I need to have some more room in the shop for whatever I'm working on, I can go ahead and fold up the legs and be able to lower it out of the way. The outfeed table, just like the router table, is constructed of 3 layers of plywood with edge banding. On the outfeed table it's angled aluminum, and on the router table it's just thin plywood that goes around the outside. Got the Rockler router table lift, and I use the remote switch here to turn it on and off and make everything easier to work with. And over here we have the Grizzly bandsaw. It's a GO513 X2, 2-horsepower bandsaw. The wheels inside are 17 inches. One of the things that I really liked about this particular saw was, rather than just having the pads for blade guides, this one actually uses a full set of ball bearings so that it keeps everything nice and cool, and I don't have to worry about things getting rubbed down. Has a pretty nice sized cast iron table, and the rip fence is convertible so it can go tall, or as I have it in this configuration, wide. And here we have the biggest machine in the shop. It's the lathe. It's a 3-horsepower Grizzly GO694, and it'll handle 20 inches by 44 inches on the lathe bed, and then it'll go up to 32 inches over here on the outboard side. I chose this one because I wanted the 3 horsepower, and I was also getting really frustrated with my Harbor Freight lathe, where I couldn't get the headstock and the tailstock to line up just right. And so at least with this one, while I can't swivel around the head, I can make sure that everything is nice and even, so that the head and the tailstock meet at the same point. And with it being 3 horsepower and having the outboard size that it can handle, it definitely lets me do the larger items that I like to do, specifically the segmented turning. And with it being in this format, I don't have to worry about stuff coming loose or going out of alignment, and it works really well for both the little pens as well as the really large projects. And with the 800 pounds that it weighs, it really doesn't go anywhere. And some of the lesser used equipment here, I've got a Harbor Freight 6-inch joiner and rabbiter, and also their 46-inch belt sander with 9-inch disc sander. And this I actually use a great deal more than I thought I would, especially with some of the projects that I've gotten into since the first of the year, but we'll get into that here in a little bit. And coming over here, we have some of the lathe tools and the holders that I've made to make things easier for it. You may recognize these from some of my previous videos at the old shop, and they made the move just fine, and I didn't see any reason to change or improve upon them because they do everything that I want, and they're nice and sturdy, and with them being bolted into the studs in the wall there, they aren't going anywhere, even when I'm working with the pen press here and pushing in pen parts. And then here we have the sticker wall, and unfortunately haven't really done too much with that since the previous videos, but now that the shop's back up online, we definitely hope to be exchanging some more stickers here pretty soon. And come on over here. With where we moved to here, unfortunately during the summer it gets really hot, and even though the garage has a whole lot of extra insulation here, unfortunately it still gets to be rather unbearable during the summer days. So got a nice 14,000 BTU freestanding air conditioner unit, since the window that is here in the shop is way too small as far as dimensionally for a window mount unit, and I wasn't about to cut any holes in the wall for it. So using the freestanding one like this, was able to actually route the heat exchange hose right out to the window, and behind the insulation there I've got a piece of plywood where it's got all the exit holes and the entrance holes for the power cables, as well as the air hose coming from the air compressor. And as you can see, that's also the end point for the dust collection ducting there. It's all 5-inch galvanized steel ducting, and coming down here I've got it to where it hooked up to the hose for floor sweep and shop vac, and it'll reach most of the shop, and the few places that it won't, I'm easily able to use the shop vac to clean that stuff up. But definitely notice a big improvement with the modifications that I've made to the dust collection system since we moved out of the old shop. But we'll get to that here in a little bit. And then over here is my Ryobi drill press. It's just one of the little benchtop models sitting on top of a 2-drawer nightstand that I put a pedestal underneath to raise it up to where I needed it to be. And this particular little drill press has just been such a little workhorse that my only complaint is the fact that its capacity is somewhat limited as far as travel, but other than that I would not change it for the world. And coming over here, we've got the clamp storage, we've got the tool wall, as well as got my 13-inch planer and a pile of other miscellaneous stuff that really has nowhere to go, but don't want to get rid of it. And got some nice burl caps sitting over here. And this is my workbench. It's 8 foot by 2 foot, and on it we've got the Delta low speed grinder so that I can sharpen my tools if I need to. Have my pressure pot for casting, as well as the vacuum chamber for stabilizing wood. The vacuum chamber is just a 1.5 gallon glass jar that came with a metal lid, but unfortunately from the pressure of the vacuum it deformed and would no longer hold a vacuum. So what I did is I took some plywood, turned them around so that it would fit nice and snug within the opening, and then I poured a gasket out of mold making silicone from Alumilite and used that as the gasket. And then it's got a release valve that goes into a 2-stage vacuum pump that's primarily from air conditioning, and this little thing is such a workhorse. It's a 5 CFM and definitely draws in more than enough vacuum to be able to do everything that I need to. And then over here is where I actually do my casting. I've got some blanks there that are sitting waiting to be sanded down and buffed to be sold. Those are 2 of them are Buckeye Burl hybrids, and the one there in the middle set is Box Elder hybrid. And up here got wall storage for the casting supplies, caster's choice micas, as well as all my miscellaneous parts, storage for pen parts, blanks, cutoffs, etc. that don't want to get rid of, but can't really find a place other than that for them. And over here we have the oven that we use to bake in the cactus juice stabilizing resin, and right now I've got a batch of mixed woods, box elder, chitim, and a few others that I can't quite remember what they are, but those are getting baked and be ready to come out of there here in a few minutes, and then it's just a matter of cut them up and cast them. So let's head on over here and take a look at the upgraded dust collector and air compressor setup that I've got. Unfortunately, due to zoning restrictions, I couldn't have a shed here because it'd be too close to the house, and also even if I did have the ability to put a shed here, zoning would not allow me to put electrical in there, so I've kind of had to fudge with their enclosures, and I have them set up to where they're looking like shipping crates that actually have them looking like shipping crates so that I'm not breaking any rules since they're all mounted right in there. But I've got a 65-gallon US General air compressor. It's a 3 horsepower, and got that from Harbor Freight about 6-7 years ago, and it's been working like a champ. Love it. Definitely a lot of capacity, and runs the pressure pot for my casting without any hesitation at all. And here we have the dust collector. Many of you who followed my channel from the early days probably saw the 2 horsepower Harbor Freight dust collector that I had, single stage. Well, it worked out really well for where I was at, but I kept getting tired of having the filter get clogged and everything and how much space it was taking. So I went ahead and disassembled that, and I kept the motor and the impeller, but connected it to one of the Oneida's Super Dust Deputies, and I have it going into a 55-gallon steel drum that I got off of Craigslist, and real easy to work with. Definitely like having it out of the shop because it's not so noisy, and since it's out here I don't have to put a filter on it, and so I don't have to worry about the filter getting clogged and losing suction. And unfortunately this year we do have a bit of really sad news. Our shop dog Chester, who you've seen in the intro to my previous videos, we called him Sponge Dog Square Butt. He was a standard dachshund and one of the many rescues that we've had over the years. Unfortunately, back in March, he ended up getting pretty sick, and we had to put him down. And still hard, but you know, at least we know that he's not in any pain anymore, because he ended up suffering from congestive heart failure. But he was 13 years old, and I've had him since he was 2, and he was just a great shop dog. The noise from the tools never seemed to bother him, and he was always just a constant companion out here in the shop, and still getting used to not having him around. And we do also, you know, enjoyed having, we enjoyed having Chester around, and it was a lot of fun, but unfortunately he just got sick and it was time. But on the upside, he's up in heaven playing with all our other dogs that we've had through the years, and since he passed, we did end up rescuing a puppy who was actually found not too far from where we are now. And it was one of those that everything just worked out so perfectly with the pup that it was one of those where we knew it was just meant to be. And he's been such a good little boy, and such a blessing for all of us. And this is the little boy that we adopted here. This is little Ricky. We sometimes just call him Little Richard. He's a Chiweenie mix, but he is such a little sweetheart, and you know, we're trying to get him used to the noises of the tools and such, but still right now doesn't really care much for it. And you can see that our shop nut job Sophie here is wondering why I've got him up here and not her. But yeah, new beginnings, and little Ricky's 5 months old now, and he's so far just been such a sweetheart, and getting all the other pups going and getting them exercising and playing, and he's been such a great part of our family.